Microphone is on. Good morning, Council, members of SLT, and assorted assembled residents here this morning. I see we have quorum, so I call this session of June 19th in session. And we now will ask all those that can to please stand for the national anthem. Okay, thank you. We now will have the land recognition statement read, and this week, Councilor Olson will do the honors.
Thank you, Mayor. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us of our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people.
Thank you, Councillor. Next on the agenda is a presentation of Ontario Senior of the Year Award. As mayor, I have the pleasure from time to time of honoring a outstanding citizen, and this morning is one of those times. It is my pleasure to take this opportunity this morning to recognize one of Pelham's seniors who has continuously committed his time and talents to serve the community of Pelham. Jake Diltz. I never knew that was your last name, Jake. I just knew you as Jake. Who at 85 continues to volunteer and be an active member of the community, has been selected to receive the prestigious Ontario Senior of the Year Award for 2024. It is no surprise that Mr. Diltz has been awarded this distinction, and he shows no signs of stopping his volunteer efforts. Isn't that the truth? His impact on the community has ranged from volunteering with the Welland Flying Club, supporting the 87th Air Cadet Squadron, being an active member of the Fonthill Lions Club, serving previously on multiple town boards and committees, as well as being a dedicated and proud member of the Fonthill Legion. With an obvious passion for serving his community, Mr. Diltz has made significant impacts that have continued to improve the lives of Pelham's residents. His roles have been many, from repairman to chairman, and his dedication and commitment has been notable in every position. I know for a fact, Jake, that you were a member of the nonprofit board, and the repairman was, of course, anytime they needed anything from a light bulb changed or an appliance repaired, you were the man they called. For those that haven't yet had the pleasure of meeting Jake, I would encourage them to visit the Pelham Farmers Market on a Thursday evening. Mr. Diltz can typically be found at the Lions booth serving barbecue favorites. And when you get a chance to meet him, you will see a glimpse into a community member whose dedication to Pelham is unwavering. Congratulations again to Mr. Diltz. And Jake, if I could get you to come here in front of the horseshoe, we'll make a presentation. And Council, I put this application to the government for this award for Jake on behalf of Council. And I've known Jake ever since he had his own electric business in town. And every time I see you, Jake, you've always got another project. Congratulations on receiving this. And how about no, wait. There you go. Excellent. Any words, Jake?
Yes, I'd like to say a few words.
Of course.
I've enjoyed my years with this town. It's been a great privilege. I've been a volunteer for a long time, but to be a volunteer, you have to like what you're doing, and you have to like the people you work with. And I've worked with a lot of great people, especially this town. The town staff, there's still some of the old ones here that remember me. They've all helped me get by. When I wanted something, I went and asked them, and it's happened. So I thank you very much, and I thank the town. Thank you.
So again, on behalf of council and on behalf of the residents, thank you for all you've done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, here you go. Oh. The clerk informs me, Jake, that as another gift, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, I turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're moving to the disclosure of any pecuniary interest that council members may have.
Thank you. After viewing today's agenda, does any council member have a general pecuniary interest to declare? Not seeing any, Mr. Clerk?
Bob does.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, 9.1.3, the soccer club, I have relatives on the club.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Kerr, did I see your hand? Oh, no, okay, thank you. And for those of viewing, we have Councilor Kerr and Councilor Hildebrand attending the meeting by Zoom today. And thank you, gentlemen, for making the effort to join the council meeting. Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So now moving to delegations. Our first delegation is Wellspring Way. They're here to make a request to the town, and I believe they're joining us. Are they? Oh, no, okay, live.
Right here.
Okay.
Yep, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Junkin and council members. My name is Ann Mantini Salima. I'm the Executive Director of Wellspring Niagara Cancer Support Foundation. I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this morning on behalf of Wellspring Niagara. Wellspring Niagara is a regional cancer support center that has been providing services, free programs and services to the Niagara residents who are living with cancer for nearly 25 years. And we are committed to creating a compassionate community that caters to the emotional, psychological, rehabilitative, informational, and social needs of cancer patients and caregivers, including men, women, and children. Today, the reason for our request is we are asking Council's permission for Wellspring Niagara to submit a request to MPAC to reassess our current property tax classification from commercial to charitable not-for-profit status. And this is in the hopes to reduce property taxes. Wellspring Niagara, as I mentioned, is a regional cancer support center, and we are a not-for-profit charitable organization that receives no government funding or funding from any healthcare community or the government. We rely solely on the community for the support we receive. And starting off with the town of Pelham, we need to acknowledge the town of Pelham for their generous support for leasing the land that we currently have. We built our center that we have fondly nicknamed the House Niagara Built, and that is due to the generous support of the people of the Niagara region who have donated through their time and their talents, skills, and donations to help us build our beautiful facility we are very proud of, and very proud to be located here in the town of Pelham. It couldn't have been a more perfect location for our members who use our facility, and it is centrally located and is accessible to so many people across Niagara. So thank you on behalf of all of us at Wellspring Niagara for that generous support. So as the only cancer support center in the Niagara region, every dollar donated to Wellspring Niagara benefits the people of Niagara who are living with cancer, with a focus on the whole person and not the disease. We offer various specialized programs designed to help people with cancer manage their self-care, connect with others, because we believe socializing and being with others is very important, easing pain, fatigue, and distress, build strength and mobility, and support life's challenges that come with a cancer diagnosis. For nearly 18 years, Wellspring Niagara offered its services in a 2,000 square foot facility leased in a unit in Thorold. We outgrew that space very quickly, and we looked for options to build our new facility that we are located on 50 Wellspring Way. On May 15th, 2017, we entered into a lease agreement with the town of Pelham to allow us to construct a purpose-built facility on the land that we are on the land with the provision of non-medical support for cancer patients and their families. And we entered into a 20-year term agreement commencing in 2017 with an option to review for an additional 20-year term, provided the land is for the same purpose. Wellspring Niagara pays a nominal annual rent of $1. So thank you for that. That same year, we launched the campaign to raise $5 million to build our facility, and through the support of individuals from across Niagara and construction and development trades, including Merritt Construction, Mountain View Homes, Rankin Construction, Dufferin Concrete, Cambria Artcraft Kitchens, Powell Drywall, Willowbrook Nurseries. These are just to name a few. We were able to build our beautiful facility. Wellspring Niagara has become an essential resource for the community, growing rapidly each year. In 2023, we saw a nearly 37% increase in program visits, with almost 8,000 people registered. We don't receive 8,000 attendants registered, sorry. We don't receive funding from the government, as I mentioned, or hospitals, and depend on charitable and community donations to maintain our programs and operations. We need to raise 100% of annual operating costs, which are nearing $1 million, with less of 14% going towards administrative expenses. Additionally, we pay property taxes of approximately $68,000 to $73,000 annually, equivalent to a 1.5 full-time paid position. Our qualified leaders and trained volunteers lead our programs and are essential to meet the community's growing needs. With minimal paid staff, nearly 200 dedicated volunteers, 50 diverse programs and services, and the financial support of the Niagara community, Wellspring Niagara has been addressing a critical gap in support of cancer care. By reducing property taxes, it is a significant step towards achieving our mission and improving our programs and services. As we depend on the community to raise essential funds yearly, decreasing property taxes will enable Wellspring Niagara to increase and enhance its program delivery and maintain free quality-based programs for the men, women, and children who benefit from our services to improve their quality of life and help them live better with cancer. I also want to mention that Wellspring has become such an important organization in our community. We have developed many strategic partnerships with organizations like Niagara Health, the Walker Family Cancer Center, Brock University, the National Program of Look Good, Feel Better Canada, and so many others in our community to enhance our services and mission. So we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak. We hope you understand the impact that by having us go to impact to request a consideration of reclassification may reduce our property taxes. It may not, but it's worth an opportunity to ask and find out. And we hope that you'll permit that permission for us and take that into consideration. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you, first of all, for coming to council this morning. I know I can unequivocally state that the town and its residents are very proud to have have Wellspring Niagara in our town. I've been through your facility numerous times, and the work you do there for everyone in the region is outstanding. And like I say, to have it in our town is a blessing for us. So just wanted to say that. And of course, you do all that work. It always blows me away with no government funding. I mean, that's unbelievable. The services you offer, and you're not recognized, or you don't get help from the government. So again, kudos to you and your team for that. I'll open it to council to questions. Councillor Olson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. As somebody who's experienced firsthand that despair of that first diagnosis, and I've witnessed the physical and psychological decline of the caregivers around somebody. Your services is very, very important, because I've also witnessed the power of the mind and hope and community friendships and what that can do. We're not big enough to have a hospital here in Pelham, and we're not unlikely to have a hospice, but it's a privilege to serve the community through Wellspring, because that's a real privilege to have that responsibility taken on by Wellspring. And the decision that was made by previous council to deliver this land was what I would call a century decision, and it's going to serve generations to come, which is what we want to do. So I'm so pleased to see that you came today to tell us this, and be able to, and to hear the mayor offer our support to you, because I know he was probably part of that council when that happened. So it's certainly something that we have great expectations, but we have a great opportunity here, important, and it's going to touch, I would say, the vast majority of families. And I just want to reiterate my support for your program and for your request. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor. Councillor Olson.
I remind council that we do have a report coming up immediately following the presentation. So basically, if you do have any questions to ask that, if not, we'll have the debate on the report right after this. Any other questions then to the presenter? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Again, thank you for the presentation and for appearing before council this morning. And I know I don't have to say this, but please continue your good work in the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik and seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that council received the request from Wellspring Way on property tax classification for information. So we could just have the vote on that,
Okay.
just for information.
So to receive the report for information, all those in favor? None opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So now moving to the actual report, we have a report number 8.1, Wellspring Niagara Property Request Taxation Reduction, 2024. I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Wink and seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be it resolved that council received the report for the request for property tax reduction, and that council select an option for property tax reduction or to make no change to the current property taxes method charged. So now to you for discussion, debate, and decision.
Okay, so council, now the reports are on the table. Councillor Wink.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions through you to, I guess the first one would be to CAO or our treasurer. Do we need to get region and school board approval to concur to this request, firstly?
Through you, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
No, we don't.
Okay. And second question, do we have other nonprofits in town that have tax exemptions? Thinking of the Legion, Pelham Cares, Fond Hill Lions, et cetera?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. So to what degree are there
100% exempt.
100% exempt? Okay, so that makes this a very easy decision then.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Councillor Eckert.
Morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to comment, a couple of the questions that Councillor Wink asked clarified a lot of points at this end, my end of the table. I think that any support that the town of Pelham can give to Wellspring, we should. Not only is it the right thing to do, but I think everybody in this room has dealt with someone in their family that has gone through this, and if you haven't, you will, unfortunately. And to have an institution like Wellspring in our town serving the entire Niagara region, I think is wonderful for the people and their families that are going through this terrible illness. So I will be in support of this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I'm sorry, Councillor Hildebrand and Kerr, if I fail to see your hand raised, don't be afraid to shout out. I tend to forget that you're in the meeting. Thanks. Any other questions or comments? So we have, Mr. Clerk, we have to decide on the, there's a list of options, I believe, or for this request, we just simply vote on the request and grant the request. Is that?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to look to the Director of Finance to just provide some clarification on the options
Yeah.
before council.
Okay,
So through you,
excellent.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you.
Right now, the request that was put forward by Wellspring Impact said that they cannot be a charitable status. That's why we brought forward this recommendation that council can have a bylaw to exempt them from taxes. Just because we own the land and they're leasing the land, so they don't qualify for a charitable status. That's just the definition from the Assessment Act. So the way around it is for council to pick one of the options, and if they wanted 100% exempt, then they would pick option 9. And option 9 means that the full assessment amount is not taxed.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. Councillor Wink.
So I'd like to move that we use option 9 as the option presented to us.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? And I see Councillor Olson will second. The motion is now on the table, and is there any further debate on this motion before I call the vote? Not seeing any. All those in favor of option 9? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So now, moving back to delegations, we have been notified that the Kinsman Club, who are listed as a delegation, are unavailable to present today, so they may be at a future meeting. We will follow up with them. Our next delegation then is Mr. Tim Nahara, and he's here to talk about the Redecan noncompliance with the OLT decision.
Where is Tim?
He's online, sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
soon.
And again, just before we move on to that delegation, a final thank you to the Wellspring crew for bringing this to council. And like we say, we.
So much, thank you, on behalf of everybody.
Okay. Yep, thank you. Take care. Tim, are you there?
Good morning. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, we can. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. On May 29th, 2024, report number 2024-0133, prepared by CAO Cribs, came before Council suddenly and without transparency, as a closed session meetings led to its endorsement by Council. And the public was denied the opportunity to question the report and Council. As the report deals with Pelham's cannabis zoning bylaw, which has been before the Ontario Land Tribunal, and which required a simple notice from the town to deliver the final result that residents have been waiting for, naturally, as the former chair of the Cannabis Control Committee, I did try to come before Council to help get this over the finish line. Today is the earliest date that I have been allowed to come before you, but the deadline for providing the OLT notice, which would have removed Redecan's warehouse and office expansion provisions, has now passed. I would like to thank Councillor Hildebrand publicly for voting against the report and its resolution, and for attempting to hear directly from our external counsel on this file, Airden Berlis. During the past 2 weeks, I have had written exchanges with CAO Cribs, which I have shared with others for advice and transparency, but regrettably, he hasn't been willing to answer my questions, citing closed session and solicitor-client privilege. So there is no improvement in transparency. I just have 2 questions for today, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, has the town provided the required OLT notice as per paragraph 12 of the February 21st, 2024 OLT decision, which would result in the tribunal issuing its final order with the removal of Redecan's office and warehouse expansion provisions?
No, it has not.
Why not, given the cost would just be hundreds of dollars?
I will turn to the CAO.
Council has received specific legal advice about advisability or inadvisability of so doing, and based on that advice, has not done so at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Cribs. Second question, and my last one. Did CAO Cribs, Mr. Mayor, discuss with you in council whether an interim control bylaw should be put in place while the town embarks on this new process?
No, he did not. And when you're done, I'll have some comments on your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I am complete.
Okay, thank you. If I may comment on one or two of your things, and Tim, again, this council and previous council owed you and the Cannabis Control Committee for the yeoman service that you did in putting the bylaws in place. And I'm talking the older bylaws specifically that I think this council at some point in the near future is going to revisit. I don't think, I know we will. But there are certain times certain whether it's legal or whether it's property acquisition or what have you, that the council goes in camera and whatever is discussed in camera is confidential and must remain behind those closed doors and cannot be discussed. I know that every member on this council, did we talk personally to the external legal counsel? No, we did not, but we were privy to a very explicit email from legal counsel that allied our fears to the action that we are now presently taking. So, and it was unanimous. It wasn't perhaps the majority voted to proceed with this, and because it was closed door and because it was legal, that is why we haven't been able to make it available to yourself and to public. I still want to, I can't stress enough that this council is still with the residents. We have to, I'm telling you the honest truth, I don't think we've done enough in the past, and I'm looking forward to bringing to this council, revisiting the odorous bylaw and getting some meaningful numbers after we reviewed the data, and we'll get the numbers down and maybe get the game started at a different level. But we were all elected to serve our residents, and I can honestly tell you that we are doing, the path we have selected is one that our external legal advice has suggested we do. It's not something that we just pulled out of a hat. And there is indeed going to be a public meeting June 26th. I stress everyone to come out to that meeting. Again, question staff. The town clerk will be, I believe, managing the meeting. And yes, that's where we're standing. Tim, thank you for your presentation today. And I will ask any member of council, do they have any questions to Ms. O'Hara on the presentation? And I'm sorry, Councilor Wink.
So, not a question. Sorry. So, not a question directed to Mr. Nohara, but it may be an appropriate time to put a notice of motion forward that staff bring forth a report on the revising the odor bylaw to put some more teeth on it. So we've had this odor bylaw for 2 years now, and we've had no readings below the threshold to enforce the odor bylaw on the cannabis companies. It's very apparent that that threshold is far too high. It needs to be revisited. It needs to come down. The odor is still a major issue for, I would say, a majority of residents in the area. All they have to do is drive through the area and you're smelling the odor from the cannabis companies. And I would suggest that that report comes back in consideration with our legal representative and also Phil Gerard, who is an odor expert. And once we get through this next planning public meeting, that the next step would be a very robust odor bylaw come forward. So I'd like to make notice of motion on that.
So I will turn to the clerk. Is this, should the council wait until further in the agenda, or is it,
No, we could bring it forward, Mr. Mayor, through you at this time. So I've made note that Councillor Wink will bring a notice of motion at our next regular meeting. At that point, he'll get a seconder and council will have an opportunity to discuss it. So.
excellent. Oh, thank you, Councillor. Any questions to Mr. Nohara? Seeing none. Tim, thank you for your presentation. And for some reason, I think you'll be at the June 26th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councilors. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye now.
To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved the council received the delegation from Mr. Tim Nohara regarding Redecan noncompliance with the OLT decision February 21st, 2024. Sorry, I don't know where that date come from. I think we're in June, right?
Yes.
Okay, for information.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments on the presentation? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That's unanimously received. Motion carries. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next delegation, again, is appearing via Zoom, and it's the Pelham Soccer Club. We have a delegation from Nicole Burrell. I believe she's joining us.
Okay. Are you Nicole?
That's the name I have, Nicole
Oh.
Burrell.
Okay. Nicole, are you there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's actually Mr. Hominuk that's joining us today.
Okay, so we have David Hominuk joining us.
Okay. David, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. My name is David Hominuk, and I'm the Vice President of the Pelham Soccer Club. With me today is Tuka Solonen, our Technical Director. Our club has about 950 registered participants, 150 volunteer coaches, 30 referees, and 15 board members. We continue to grow year after year, not only in the amount of players in our younger age groups, but also in expanding our membership with older teens and adults. Providing facilities for youth soccer poses some unique challenges. The younger age groups require smaller fields, which grow in size and numbers of players on the field as they get older. The town currently provides us with 3 fields, 2 full fields at Centennial Park in Fenwick and a 9v9 field at Harold Black Park. We have a partnership with the DSBN where we use the E.L. Crosley turf and Glen A. Green for all of our younger ages, 6 and under, as well as having 4 7v7 fields. We contract Reinberg Landscaping, who maintains those fields by cutting, rolling, seeding, and weed control. From our research with other clubs, we have the fewest town-provided fields in the region. It also means that our fields get a lot of use, and maintenance is crucial to the longevity of the fields we are provided. So each spring, we meet with the town staff to go over our season plans, equipment needs, and maintenance needs. The Department of Recreation, Culture, and Wellness is responsible for the lining of the fields, nets, restrooms, and lights. Public Works is responsible for the field maintenance. For several years, we have indicated the need for increased mowing during the spring when the grass grows at a faster rate. This has proven to be a logistical problem for the Public Works Department due to a lack of equipment and staff. We were told that Public Works does not have the time, nor do they have the manpower. We have offered to contract out the work that is not able to be provided by the town to aid in the maintenance of the fields. This spring, we were assured by staff this would not be necessary. However, on May 27th, our teams found that the Centennial Fields had not been mowed on the previous Friday as planned. One of our board members discovered this at 3 p.m. and approached 2 town employees on riding lawnmowers who were cutting grass outside the fenced areas. He asked if they could cut the fields as they were unplayable. The employees informed him that only the large tractor could cut the fields and they did not have access to it. Games ended up being played that night with complaints coming from both teams as well as the referees. We did receive a response from staff the next day apologizing it wasn't cut on schedule as promised. We have also made no progress with the town's frontline workers responsible for field maintenance. Centennial Park number 1, one of the finest fields in Niagara before, is now riddled with potholes, divots, weeds, and bare patches. These issues were reported this spring to the town, and our response was for us to mark the field as they could not find the issues. On May 31st, there was a game scheduled, and it took 10 minutes to convince the referee to allow the game to proceed as he was seriously concerned about potential injuries. The league was subsequently informed that our field was essentially unplayable. Centennial 1 is now closed due to unsafe and poor conditions. There are some repairs in process, but we're concerned that the repairs are not sufficient. And even after another week of being closed, it will be unlikely it'll be ready for safe play. I'm going to stop there and try and add some pictures. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is a picture of a bare spot at Centennial 2 currently, or sorry, Centennial 1. This is a divot that's still there. That's my foot in the hole. These pictures were taken last night. Here's a patch that was performed last week from the town. This is a mud divot, the depth of my finger still on the field. Here's another patch. So we've closed the field for 2 weeks, hoping that the sod will take because we can't play on it while the sod is like that. We just don't feel like that's going to be ready in another week. That grass hasn't been watered. It's not taking, and it probably will come back, but not quickly. Stop sharing there. Thank you. So we have 2 immediate requests. One, we need to get this field back up in playable condition for this year. We don't have the facilities to be able to divert the use of that field elsewhere. We need those sod patches fixed, fix the holes that are there, and continue to roll it throughout the season. Every time the town seems to be rolling it, which they have been doing, it does seem to be getting better and better. And now for future requests, we're asking in the fall of this year for both Centennial 1 and 2 to have some work done to it. We understand it may not be in the budget, but we have indicated that we would be willing to partner financially to get this done. If the work's not done in this fall, then potentially these fields will not be playable again in next year. We would be willing to work with the town on the 2025 budgeting process to make sure that there are funds available to properly maintain with a contract outside of the town if needed. Also on Centennial 2, which is a newer field, it is becoming unplayable, and we feel like it will be in the same condition as Centennial 1 in a short time. It was also only constructed with one backstop. Those are the big nets behind the nets that prevent the ball from leaving the field. And Centennial 1 was created one with both on each end. Centennial 2 only has one on the south end. And at the north end, now when balls go over, people have to hop the fence into the large grassy areas. Coaches, players, parents have to hop the fence. They get ticks on it. Nobody's been injured, but they're starting to just leave the balls down there, which again becomes a costly thing. So we are asking that a hole be put in the fence, like a gate or something, so people do not have to hop the fence, and in the long term to look to have a net put up there. So I believe that's our biggest concerns.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Before I open it to council, I am going to go to the Director of Public Works for their comments. And before I do that, if I can just have a question. Once the sod is laid and it's laid level, what difference does it make whether the grass is growing green, or you can just, I mean, it's now a level playing field. That patch is level. So I don't understand. I mean, if it was a drought condition and the whole field was brown, then you would still play on that as long as it was level. So I don't understand. So inform me as to why, now that the sod is down, why you have to wait for it to be green before you can play on that, from a soccer point of view.
If it hasn't taken, then it's a slipping hazard. People have cleats that dig into it, so they put their foot on it, push, and the whole sod would come up.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I will now turn to the Director of Public Works, Jason Moore.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to comment too much. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Cook. He's our Manager of Public Works and is directly related to the maintenance of these sports fields. I will make a comment in saying that our staff do meet regularly, and they are well aware of the situations. And I think Ryan will have some comments and feedback on what can be done and how it can be handled.
Okay, thank you. We now turn to Mr. Cook. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we did take a look at some of the turf issues at Centennial Park and some of our other soccer fields specifically. There can be more maintenance done. To address the pockmarking and the actual damage that's done by the act of playing soccer, the best way of taking care of that is to you overseed and then you top dress the field. So you're coming in, we're spreading topsoil over the field with overseeding. And there's a couple other operations. There's about 6 things you can do for really good turf maintenance. It starts with aerating. This all starts in the kind of late spring, so around April, May. So you want to aerate the field. Then it's an overseed. Then you top dress, fertilize, roll, and then at some point, if we don't provide selective herbicide, we've never done that on a field. If that is an option that we might not do if we do the other things that helps actually turf grow. Another problem is we cannot provide the lawn cutting in early May and April. That is the time when we are supposed to be doing these other operations. Typically, we've been pushed to get fields open earlier and earlier, even though that the communication has always been that we cannot provide any more than 1 cut until the summer students start. So it's usually about the 2nd week of May when we can start actually doing the required mowing. So when we try to get people on earlier, the field is generally wet. The damage that's caused by people actually doing soccer is greater, and then we end up with pockmarked fields, and they are getting a lot of use. So we do need to increase the level of service to cover those maintenance issues. There's a significant cost to those. We've gone out and we've gotten some budget quotes. These aren't competitive. They're not. The price really is just someone taking a quick look and giving us a cost estimate. It's about $8,000 per field to provide fertilization, overseeding, rolling, and aerating. That doesn't include the top dressing. That's about another $4,500 add-on. So you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 per field to get to the level that I believe soccer is trying to get us to, which is it's fair. If we provide for soccer, then you're also needing to look at baseball. Now, baseball has a different maintenance. Typical outfield of baseball has 3 people playing on it. Typical soccer field's 22. So that can get tore up a lot sooner. So we do need to look at some of the costs of providing increased service, but we're probably around at $85,000 to $110,000 per year for all of the provided for soccer and baseball together. There are certain things we can do that aren't as expensive, but you're still needing to top dress, aerate, overseed, fertilize, and roll. So the one thing that we can take out is weed spraying, and hopefully by doing these other operations, it gives the grass the ability to kind of take over where the weeds are. So try not to spread fertilizer or herbicide on a field where people play. So That's kind of where we're at. I did acknowledge there was a misstep around the Lions Carnival that we did not mow on when we said we did. Did send an apology to soccer for that, and that's been addressed with staff.
Okay, thank you for that update. I will now open it to Councillor, any questions? So I see Councillor Kerr, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess when I see the comments relative to divots, it makes me think of golf courses. And if you look at most golf courses, they will do an early season maintenance, and the majority of their divot repair in season is filling in the sinking spots with topsoil, rolling them lightly at that point and going forward. With the volume of people that are using these fields, I understand getting fields in good shape at the beginning of the season, but if you have a particularly wet season with lots of players, the potential for forming divots is going to be very high. The other thing was a comment, and I think I appreciate being given this. Most other municipalities try and restrict access to their fields until at least the third week of May. And I think we identified, and I appreciate Mr. Cook identifying that even in many cases similar to that, again, bringing an example of a golf course where people are actually trying to make divots, not maybe because by chance, but by design, that early season damage is always the most difficult to deal with. So I appreciate what soccer is facing. It's one of these things. I think we have to take a good look at the parameters of the timing of activity on the fields and taking that into account as well. And if there's a demand and need for earlier use, then the expenses are going to go up. So that becomes part and parcel of organizations. I didn't have soccer when I was a kid. I played minor baseball, and many times the outfields were not in particularly good shape early in the season. It wasn't until midsummer that they got into position. So it's just more of an observation. I'm almost thinking that there could be an alternative mechanism of, quote, divot repair than going to large-scale sodding, which creates a delay in time. I agree with them that until the sod is knit in place, it can be a slipping hazard. So that's just an observation on my standpoint. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any comments from any further councillors? Councillor Wink.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Cook. I was out at the field on Friday afternoon and looked at the sodded patches, and a lot of those sodded patches have a sprinkler head right around there. So it seems that the sprinkler head got in when we watered the fields. Around the sprinkler head is where the mud started to creep up, but those sprinkler heads were right on the soccer field. Is there an opportunity to move those sprinkler heads off the sidelines and into the non-playing area and still cover the soccer fields? Because it seems that that's one of the culprits of the necessity of putting sod down.
To Mr. Cook.
Through the mayor. Yes, at Centennial 1, we did find that it was mostly the sprinkler heads that were causing the divots. I believe when we turned the system on that a few of the heads were damaged, prior to our irrigation specialist coming in and taking a look at them. I think a lot of the topsoil around them washed out because they didn't seem to be a problem last year, so we're looking into that. We had a number of them raised, but there's about 16 sprinkler heads throughout the soccer field. I would have to look to see if you'd have the coverage and the pressure to water them from outside the playing surface. But that's something that we could definitely look into.
Councillor.
Thank you for that, Mr. Cook. The other thing I would suggest to staff that they include something in the budget for consideration with respect to Centennial 2, the backstop, that we can, no, the backstop's on, missing backstop is on Centennial 2. So we should be looking at seeing cost of installation of that. I'm not sure if there's a remedy at this point in time to put a gate in that, but that might be another consideration and something that we can do in the interim. So, thank you.
To Mr. Cook about the gate, I can't help but think that we put a gate and they will look at the fence and look at the gate and they'll still jump the fence before they go to the gate, but we'll see what happens. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Cook?
Yeah, we did hear concerns from soccer about the lack of access to the it would be the north side of Centennial 2. We do have a little fence project in around our new practice court out there, so we are going to be installing another gate on the north side during that time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Council Nesnick.
Yes, thank you. I just have a question for Mr. Hominick, actually. So you said that you have maintenance contracted out to the Glenay Green fields. I know Crosley wouldn't be because it's artificial turf now, but can you I have not visited Glenay Green's fields. Can you tell us for the money you spend on those fields? So you said you do, what services do you receive from the contractor? And what's the state of those fields in terms of the service that you're given?
So those fields initially were just a field at a school. So it has taken us some time to establish them as sufficient soccer fields, but they are safe. They are used year round, like for the kids. I know they're not always playing down there, but I know that was a concern about, getting on the fields early. Those fields don't seem to be affected by being on there year round. But they cut the grass, they aerate, they overseed, and they put weed spray as necessary. I'm not exactly sure to the extent of that. I don't think they do the whole, like they're not spraying the entire fields. But they do get a lot of use. Saturday mornings, there's almost 300 people that are on those fields between kids and parents and that. And at least at this point, they make our fields viable for us to play. And are they the best fields in that we have? Probably not, but they're certainly, they meet at least the minimum standard. They're sufficient for us, and we've been maintaining them for several years now without having to worry about having to shut them down. There's 4 fields there in total. There's certainly a couple fields that are better than the other, and I think that's just the nature of that. We also don't have any irrigation at those fields.
Big one.
Councillor?
Yes, so thank you. So we did meet out at Centennial Park, and Mr. Cook just happened to be there as well. So we did have a fulsome conversation, I think, with some of the executive from Pelham Soccer. Myself, Councillor Olson was there, as well as I said, Mr. Cook. So it is noticeable that those fields are not safe, and we have 500 children playing soccer, so certainly not all of them on those 2 fields, but I think it is imperative to this council that we look at some way that we can figure out budgetarily how to support those fields and keep them in playable shape. I wouldn't want my daughter playing on that. She played university soccer, and I was a member of the Soccer Association for many, many years when my children were growing up. So it is a bit of a passion for us. We used to practice at Glenay Green, and it, as you said, it was kind of a school field. And then the wonderful fields were, well, we had Harold Black at that time, and then Centennial, one of the Centennial Parks, but it's, I think, gone now for a baseball diamond, the one we used to use. But it was in much better shape than certainly the Glenay Green ones. So I think we have an organization here who is willing to cost share for a little bit of maintenance or give the town some budgetary funds towards maintaining those fields. I guess my question is to the treasurer or to the CAO, is that a viable option to have some cost sharing done in order to maintain? And actually, they don't need maintained, they need to be repaired and then maintained.
To the CAO, Mr. Cribbs.
So there are a number of viable options and ways forward at this point in time. But I think the two best involve sort of a formal motions from members of the body. And so two ways to think about this. One, you could consider directing a staff report to come back to you in, say, August, and that could involve some conversation with the Soccer Association to see what level of funding we're talking about, or financial contribution we're talking about as far as work in year goes. That's work in year is more of a difficult challenge than preparing for 2025. Now I can tell you that at an administrative level, and there's plenty of time for change, obviously, but we have already taken first steps towards the 2025 budget. Like we've all held meetings at least at the senior sort of level of this corporation, initial steps towards next year's budget. So there are two ways to refer a matter directly to budget. Of course, you could take a vote telling us to build all of this into next year's budget. That means it comes to you with more than $100,000 increase. I hear from Mr. Cook, and about 180 is a 1% increase on the taxes, roughly. I don't know what the figure will be exactly for next year, but it'll be in that ballpark. Or you can have our more traditional approach in this corporation for the last 5 years or so has been that we bring the matter to you in the budget binder, but as a separate item so that you can choose to include it or not at the time when it comes to actually making the decision on passing the budget. So the figures will be there, but not it's not built in. If it comes built in, it's harder for you to make a change to it. It's sort of baked right in. So those are your two ways to refer something to the budget. As an alternative, you could have a motion asking for a staff report talking about what might be possible in year and or with our recommendations for budget next year, I suppose. And an August report, we'd still be able to make changes to the 2025 budget, obviously, at that point in time. So those are three different viable paths forward. I would suggest that's worthy of discussion amongst yourselves. And then, you know, procedurally, it's better that we do this as a notice of motion at the end of the meeting, but I think it's probably pretty fair at this point in time. We're not talking about something hugely controversial, and you won't be spending the money either way right now. So I think if you did it now, then the Soccer Association could hear and see what the thought process is, and that might be better public service, even if it is procedurally imperfect.
Thank you. Councillor, you still have the floor.
Yes, so thank you. So thank you, Mr. Cribbs. So I think we would like to give a notice of motion that we would like to have a staff report with regards to in-year. Is that correct? So in-year, some funds to be redirected for in-year repairs to the soccer field. Or just a notice of motion that something's coming? How would you like me to word it?
Well, if I may, I don't think anyone from Public Works staff, and certainly on their behalf, staff are in no way opposed to adjusting and trying to provide the service level desired by any community group. It just becomes a question of resources.
Right.
What we aren't suggesting at this point in time, you've already passed a budget and told us what to spend our time and money and staff and muscles on. Like we have a whole bunch of tasks we're supposed to accomplish for the rest of the year. So certainly our advice to you is not to cannibalize something else that is also important to the community. So so long as it isn't about, if it's about cannibalizing, taking money from one area, then in fact I actually think you need a 2/3 majority to redirect that, because you as a whole, you unanimously passed a budget, and we're supposed to deliver those services and those goods in a timely fashion as contemplated by the budget. So I think what you're hoping to say is a staff report which requires some interaction with the Soccer Association to sort of determine what is viable or possible this calendar year. Now, it may be possible that by the fall we have some surpluses in some accounts within the Public Works budget. That's happened in years past. It is possible, but I wouldn't direct us to find, to cannibalize or find savings elsewhere, because everything else we're doing is important too. or you wouldn't have approved the spending on it, frankly. So I think that could fill the hole for now, and based out of the August, assuming you wanted an August report from that, you could choose to how to include or to not include something in the following budget.
Well, that was clear as mud.
Okay, so the problem is the wording about redirecting current spending, right?
No, yeah.
Ideally, it's a report returnable in the August meeting of council with consultation with Pelham Minor Soccer, Pelham Soccer Association. You'll forgive me, I've got the name wrong, but a report that reflects, one assumes, the hopes and aspirations of the organization.
Okay, thank you. So we'll put that notice of motion forward. Did you get that, Mr. Clerk?
All of it? I have a suggestion that it'll just be an amendment to the motion so that we have an in-staff report in August.
Okay.
If we do a notice of motion, then it'll just be a notice of motion on the August meeting, and then you won't deal with it till September. So we'll just resolve or add a resolution to amend this current motion.
Thank you. That's why we have you on staff. Wonderful. Good to know. I like that one. But in the meantime, I guess I have another question. One more. Am I allowed?
Go ahead.
Just a question with regards to the possibility, and maybe this is for Ms. Quinlan Murphy, of the soccer club now being able to provide some funds to be able to offset some repairs costs to be done sooner rather than later. Is that a doable option?
So it's always fair for council to inquire how might we do
Yes.
something? In this case, you're asking to presumably access a reserve, one assumes, rather than take away from current operating funds, which are, apportioned for a number of other tasks. So that's certainly something I think Ms. Quinlan Murphy can speak to.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we can take money out of a reserve and allocate it for 2024.
Okay, well, I was looking at how could we access some of the soccer funds from the soccer club to help support some of the repairs for this year.
I don't know if they have that money available. Is there money available from the soccer club currently for the 2024 year? Or I thought we were looking at the 2025 year to see how we can work together. I guess this will have to go to the soccer club.
Yes, I think we do have funds available for immediate use should we need to. We have had some put aside for any type of capital expenditure that we might need. So I'd have to bring that back to the board and present that, but we could get that that number. I guess we would have to decide like exactly what was in the budget. I know Mr. Cook said all of those things that need to be done for the turf. What is actually being done now and what needs to be added to that? And we would be willing to consider topping up everything, so to speak, to get what we need to get the fields in best condition possible, as quick as possible.
Thank you. So if I may interject and ask a question. So I look at this caring for the soccer field the same as when we hire outside contractors to look after snow plowing. We get them, they assist town staff. The soccer club already has a contractor that looks after one field. Would it be outside the realm of possibility for them to meet with their contractor and have their contractor make the repairs at their expense to the, and that way the soccer club can talk to their contractor, pay that contractor, and go that way? Is that possible, Mr. Cribbs, or is that too whatever?
I think council's on the right track here with a report, because we shouldn't try to put the soccer club association on the spot. I have no idea what quantum of money we might be talking about. And we also, in fairness to them, they shouldn't be contributing towards, say, baseball field maintenance, which is in Mr. Cook's estimate, right? They're there for soccer. That being said, it's not a good analogy to snow plowing. When we bring contractors in, we're in an emergent situation, and we've already deployed 100% of our assets, and so it's a very different labor relations perspective. And so those are sort of things we would take the time to explain it in a report, but I can tell you there's not a soccer emergency. There's a desire for enhanced and better service, but whereas if we get 12 centimeters of snow, the town shuts down, and it's entirely acceptable to bring in other people to help us. So those are fairly different situations. We are aware of what we're capable of doing. We are fundamentally capable of changing the service level. At the end of the day, it comes down to resources. That's all it is, and it's nothing more, nothing less than that. We're talking about who might pay and what contributions look like and when we might do it. But at the end of the day, enhanced service is possible if the resources are there. That's fundamentally it. So I think what's on the floor at the moment will work. I think staff from both Recreation and Public Works will be very happy to work with our partners in soccer and come up with something that I imagine will be workable.
Okay, thank you. The clerk does have a resolution drawn up. He will read it, and we will see. Well, let's hear from the clerk first, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So maybe if I clarify the resolution, we can kind of summarize the discussion. So I do have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Wink and seconded by Councillor Niznik that we received the delegation from David Humanock of the Pelham Soccer Club regarding the state of the fields for information, and that council directs staff to report back in August with a report on funds to be directed to soccer field maintenance repair in year in discussion and partnership with the Pelham Soccer Club.
Thank you. Any comments from the presenter? I get the feeling from your presentation that in spite of the words of the CAO, that there is a soccer emergency as such. It doesn't affect me, and it doesn't probably affect too many people at this council, but it does indeed affect your club and your participants. So I guess on this resolution, you've heard the resolution that, and I believe town staff is going to be looking at the fields and doing what we can to bring them up. Any comments on this resolution that you've heard and the timeline that you've heard?
Well, I want to thank you for acknowledging our concerns, and I think what you've presented certainly meets one of our goals for some long-term solutions, but I guess it still comes down to the question that we're stuck between not being able to have the resources in the town to do what needs to be done now, and us still not being able to hire somebody outside of town to get done what needs to get done. So I guess my question is, what happens between now and August? Are we sitting just hoping that sod takes? And I understand that everyone's got their plans in the current budget. So we're asking you to do more, and I'm not quite sure if you have the manpower or ability to do that now.
Thank you. And I'll go back to Ryan. You've been with this town for well, since the last dinosaur actually disappeared, and you know the field, and I know you've done what you're allotted to with the funds. How do you see this in the next month from the town's perspective, please?
Through the mayor, yeah. I think I've been playing soccer in Pelham since about 1982, so that give you an indication of how long I've been around. But there's really two things I think we can do to get Centennial 1 back up and running. One is to roll it again. I can roll it out. That gets your field up immediately. The sod should take. It probably burnt out because of the weather. I mean, it's hot. So we can add some more water. We can get the irrigation system back up and running. To address the pockmarking, it's top dressing and overseeding. There is no other option. That is a $4,500 repair. That also spreads a bunch of topsoil over the field, and then you have to be willing to play on that, because it's about 3 weeks for the germination and to where that topsoil will actually improve. So we can roll it, get you back on. The trouble with rolling it is that you're compacting the top of the soil. You're reducing your drainage ability. And once you start doing that, you promote weed proliferation, really. Like if we do something that damages the turf grass or makes it difficult for that grass to grow, weeds will 100% take over. And so I have two options immediately to get that field back. One is rolling it. That's about $1,000 equipment rental. That fits into our budget. We do have money in fleet for renting specialized equipment. If you want to address the actual surface and the quality of the turf, it is probably a 3-week closure, and it's $4,500 to overseed and top dress.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Vicky, do you have Ms. Van Ravensboy? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kevin, I keep forgetting you're there. Councillor Kerr, go ahead, sir.
I guess I'll play my degree in horticultural science background, among other things, kind of throwing in. Top dressing and seeding at this particular time of year is not particularly effective without natural rainfall, and as Brian has said, you have to have multiple weeks of leaving the field alone. I think the more critical point is getting it to a playable condition. If it's maybe not the best, but equivalent to Glen A Green, where soccer is ongoing, I think we live with that for the current season, but we also need to have the report come back. We're talking about releasing funds to do things without having any idea of how many funds are really needed to do what, at what stage, what's an emergency expenditure and how much is the emergency expenditure and what will we really gain. So I'm just playing kind of a devil's advocate of there are, yes, I understand and I appreciate Ryan's coming up, what's the quick and dirty method right now? We anticipate it, but I also believe that a more fulsome report in conjunction with the Soccer Association of what is a definitive plan forward for long-term improvement is probably the greatest question that's being asked at this point. And the feeling at the moment from Pelham Soccer is that there's insufficient effort done early in the season. Well, if there's a need for additional effort early in the season, not in the middle of the season because you lose playing time, et cetera, that's what we look at. So I agree, a report comes back quickly. I think we look at the fastest opportunity possible, and that we do get a more fulsome report from staff to look at what are the economics, and we develop a plan for 2025 onwards. That doesn't necessarily mean we can't do things in 2024 that we find we can do, but I just, without a really well laid out plan of action, timelines, I mean, this is no different than construction of anything. You have to have it and follow the climatic conditions allowed. I wouldn't be planting grain in the middle of late June, early July if it's a fall grain and expect it to catch in time and be worth anything. So similarly with grass seed and having almost an acre of lawn myself and having to deal with it multiple occasions, and particularly similar soil to Centennial Park, yeah, I think Ryan's plan B, which is the rolling and dealing with the ruts, but I personally am not into a topsoil reseed at this stage of the game, not this particular time of year.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Wink, Deputy Mayor Wink.
So listening to a bunch of the comments, whether we hire the soccer club hires a contract or not, that sod has to take to be playable. A contractor's not going to do anything different than us putting the sod down. All that we have to do is make sure that sod is watered and it takes. So you're going to lose your field for a few weeks. Yeah, you can't play on sod because sod's got to take, so it takes a bit of time. As far as some of those divots, like just throw some dirt in the hole. sorry, I played senior soccer for, probably I retired when Ryan started playing, but I played senior soccer, I played university soccer. I've been on that field, and I've played on a hell of a lot worse fields than that. Fix the divots, you've got to let the grass take, and then, like, I'm sorry, like, a new contractor's not going to do anything at this point in time on that. And yeah, we're going to fix the fence. I don't know what else we can do in the interim. You know, it is what it is. So we can do due diligence, but I don't think we have to do a large maintenance project at this point in time. It's the time of season right now, it's going to get hot and grass is not going to grow. So we just have to make sure that sod takes, and we fill in the divots and we fix the fence. I don't know what else we can do at this point in time.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor Wink. Any other comments? Not seeing any. Mr. Clerk, could you read the resolution again, please? Just maybe we might want to add something or.
Good, I have some extra paper if we want to add stuff. So be it resolved that council received the delegation from David Hominack of the Pelham Soccer Club regarding the state of the soccer fields for information, and that council direct staff to prepare a report for August 2024 addressing the feasibility of redirecting funds to in-year soccer field repair and maintenance in discussion and with financial partnership of the Pelham Soccer Club.
Thank you. And I guess the staff directive, perhaps, to Mr. Cook and his crew to do your best. And Mr. CEO, is that, and we'll just wait for the staff report before we do any.
Well, I still have some problems with the redirecting funds language. Like, I thought the question of the reserve was a reasonable one, but again, you've passed a budget. And you want me to redirect funds from the swimming pool? Would you like to close the swimming pool? No. So that's, I don't think that's what you mean. I think, but we're going to be prisoner to your language. So I really don't think it has to not say that. It can be found savings, or it can be, we could discuss taking money out of a reserve. But I do not think your intention is to redirect funds from other programs you've told us to run.
Okay, so that's my wording choice, sorry for that. I can change that to the feasibility of finding funds from reserves to in-year soccer repair and maintenance. Is that?
Mr. CEO?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Yes.
And Mr. Cook, I believe you stated that you have a little leeway in the current budget. Yes. Okay, a little leeway, where you, such as rolling and what have you. Excellent. Okay. The new resolution, Mr. Cook or Mr. Taggart?
I don't mind if Ryan wants to take a stab at it. So.
Yeah.
And the council directs staff to prepare a report for August 2024 addressing the feasibility of finding funds either from reserves or savings to in-year soccer repairs and maintenance in discussion and in financial partnership with the Pelham Soccer Club.
Thank you. My feeling is that by the time this report comes out, we'll be red circling it and putting it in the next budget anyway, but whatever. Any other questions or comments on the resolution as read by the clerk? Then I will call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for formulating that.
Well, thank you. And probably right now we would have an opportunity for a break. The fire chief has arranged for the newest vehicle in the fire department's fleet to arrive in the back parking lot. So if we wanted to take a quick break, we could have a photo op there and share in the new asset for the community.
I get to drive first. Okay, so we will indeed take a break, and we'll convene in the parking lot to see our new acquisition at Town Fire Services.